If you are a skinny guy with long arms, you've probably noticed that no matter what exercises you do, your arms just don't pop out like the way other guys do. You go to the gym, do a bunch of different curls, get a pump, but when you get back home and look at yourself in a mirror, you don't see much difference in your arms. I know how frustrating it is to buy a shirt and you can't fill out the sleeves as well. Fortunately for you, I was in this same position, extremely skinny. I wasn't blessed with the best arm genetics, as you can see. My arms were very long, but after many months of trying and failing, I was able to transform my arms, fill out my shirts, and that is exactly what I will help you do in this video. So make sure you watch the video till the end and I guarantee your arms will blow up. Let's get into the video. So the first thing you need to understand is that if your arms are longer than most people's, it means that your bicep and tricep insertions are longer, which has to do with your genetics. It's basically just the way you were born. I had the same genetics, as you can see. So if you have the idea in your head that you're gonna have these enormous biceps popping out like Phil Heath or maybe the Trent twins, forget it. However, that does not mean that you can't still build crazy arms, and here's exactly how we're going to achieve this. So the first thing we need to do is to pick the right exercises. There's so many different variations and different movements, so many different ways to train your biceps and triceps. I'm not going to bore you guys with the science stuff and all this about long head, short head. I'm simply going to show you what exercises worked for me and what gave me the best growth. I start off my bicep training with an incline dumbbell curl. In my opinion, this is one of the best exercises to grow your biceps. The growth I got from doing this exercise is absolutely insane. You'll see a lot of fitness influencers actually doing this exercise in their videos. Great contraction, you get a great pump, you don't have to go too heavy, and the long head of your bicep will be working. So start doing these. The next exercise for my biceps is going to be the Bayesian curls. Now guys, I'm usually the first one to criticize TikTok exercises and what I like to call social media advice, but this is one of the few movements that I've actually tried from TikTok and it actually works. Once you set it up correctly and execute it with good form, I don't think there's another bicep exercise that's gonna give you a better pump. Pump is absolutely insane with this. You're gonna feel it straight away after the first set. I noticed also a lot of growth once I learned how to do these properly. Emphasis on properly. If you're not doing this properly, it's gonna be harder for you to actually feel it in your bicep. My last exercise for biceps is gonna be some form of a preacher curl. Most guys already do this. It doesn't really matter whether you use a machine or a normal preacher curl with a bar or even a single arm preacher curl with a dumbbell. You must have some form of preacher curls in your routine if you're trying to grow your biceps. This gives you that peak, especially when you flex your bicep, that top part of the bicep. I recommend starting off your bicep training actually with this movement, because I feel like if you do them when your arms are already fatigued, you run the risk of injuring yourself. So let's move on to triceps. For the triceps, we're gonna pick 3 movements as well. The first one's gonna be a tricep push down, ordinary tricep push down. See, with the push downs, it's all about the attachment you pick. There's the V bar, there's the rope. In my opinion, the flat bar is the best attachment to grow that tricep, especially because it targets the long head of the tricep. This video is mainly for guys who have long arms, so your main focus for training your triceps should be making that long, and that's exactly what's going to fill out your shirts. So the next exercise for the triceps is going to be the JM press. I actually didn't realize that it was called the JM press. I just found out when I was doing my research. I usually just call it the Smith machine tricep, whatever. So basically use the Smith machine, but in this case, you're mainly targeting your triceps instead of your chest. Your grip is not supposed to be too wide and it's also not supposed to be too close. This exercise is going to give you that meaty, beefy, it's going to add a lot of mass to your bicep, and that's exactly what's going to fill out your shirts, and actually make your arms look big. Last exercise for your triceps is going to be some form of a skull crusher. Some people prefer to use a V bar, some people prefer to use dumbbells. I prefer using dumbbells, just working each arm individually, each tricep individually. It also helps me avoid muscle imbalances. It's very easy when you're training your arms for your stronger arm to take over. Anyway, yeah, skull crusher is really, really good exercise for your arms. All right, so once we've sorted out which movements we're going to focus on, the next thing we need to do is to make a training plan for your arms. Now, if your goal is to actually grow massive arms and you have really long insertions, you're going to need to prioritize your arm training more. My arms really started growing when I actually added an arm focus day to my weekly routine, and I don't see enough skinny guys doing this. You need to give your arms their own day where you mainly focus on training them and getting the most out of them. It's not enough to just train your arms after training chest, after training your back. No, it's also good to train your arms when they are fresh and to give them the attention they deserve. The arms are very unique in that they respond to a lot of volume and they can recover quicker from intense training. Don't be afraid to hit arms almost every day, Now my final message to guys with long arms who are trying to get massive arms is to stop overcomplicating your arm training. This is something a lot of people do, and I think it's due to the sheer amount of information. Everyone on social media thinks they're an expert. You'll be scrolling on Instagram, see a new exercise every single day. Someone is coming up with a new exercise and it's being branded as the most optimal. The next thing you know you're going to train your arms with a whole new bunch of different movements and literally start switching up your training routine every single week because you're trying to chase, most optimal gains and all this and that. What actually matters is consistency. Pick your movements and stick to them. Stop chasing trends and try to be the most optimal. Your arms will blow up. Trust me. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe for more game on how to build muscle for skinny guys. Stay blessed and I will see you in the next video.